James G here with Tarpley Music in Fort Worth, Texas. But if you need to find us at any time, you always can at tarpleymusic.com. So, welcome to the world of a Zildjian electric drum set. What? Yeah, electric drum set by Zildjian. So, this is the new Alcheme series by Zildjian. It's really kind of a next level in a lot of ways. First of all, if you look at the drums, well, these look like full-size drums. Well, they are. They're 7-ply North American maple shells. Okay, so you've got mesh heads here with your triggers. Take those off, put regular heads on it. Acoustic kit, maple acoustic kit, right? If you notice the finish, this is a really cool finish. This finish is actually based off what the floor of the factory looks like, and it even has all these kind of glitter from all the bronze and brass and everything being over the years. And so the finish is really cool, and it's really connected to that factory. It's a really cool story there, and it makes a lot of sense. You'll see in some close-ups, really pretty finish there. So yeah, the drums are great. There's actually 3 versions this comes in. There is the Bronze EX, which is a 5-piece setup, but the toms are like half shell, and then it's like an 18-inch style kick, and then you get a ride and a crash. There's the Gold, that is a 4-piece, so you get a 10 and a 14 with the 18-inch kick, a ride and a crash and hats. And then now this is the Gold EX. Now this is really made to be a traditional 5-piece setup, right, with 2 toms and floor here. I did a split 5. It's kind of more my style. I thought I'd feel more comfortable on it. But if anything, that proves that, hey, you can just set it up however you want. It really doesn't matter, because this sets up as a split 5 extremely well also. And then, of course, you have the ability to make this kit whatever you want it to be. So if I want a 10 and a 16 and an 18, I can if I want it to be whatever setup. So, but it's Zildjian, right? So what is really going on with these electric cymbals? Well, they're not, okay? For the most part, by design, it is a real cymbal, okay? They're using actual sizes. These are 14, 18, 16, and a 20. And it is a spun cymbal. It's just got all these holes in it. And this is their newest generation of this. These are the L80s, okay? You may remember that they've been doing this for a while, like Gen 16 and some other things, but this is the newest one. So the trigger is completely 360. Every single cymbal has 3 zones, okay? So you have an edge, and then you've got the bow, and you got a belt, and that's on all of them, okay? Not just the ride cymbal. And, of course, choking capability, right? Yeah, it's just flawless. So it's really, really good. And the hi-hat control is really cool. There's actually a black rubber trigger that's all around the bottom hi-hat, and the bottom hi-hat is a little smaller than the top. So whenever you've got the foot sound together, that's what's triggering there. And there's a real easy setup on how to set up the hi-hat control with your foot. You'll actually set up what it's like when they're just holding together in space and with your foot down. So it gets really, really close, accurate, you know. And now you could go to almost any drummer. You could have this electric drum, acoustic drum conversation, right? And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen this whole, you know, before there were all the way till now. And there's a very important market for kits like this, whether it's people with studios or if it's a situation where volume needs to be completely controlled, maybe a recording studio that wants to have access to 1,000 Zildjian cymbals, right? That's what this is. And so where all these sounds and everything comes from? Well, it comes from the Zildjian E-Vault. Now, there are cymbals in here from the past that no one's probably ever heard that have been recorded. There's all their current line and even some future lines. So there's literally the entire Zildjian family in a box, okay? So if you want to get an old style Constantinople, you know, ride cymbal that they found on the ground, it's probably in there, okay? Well, I'm a K guy, I like all Ks. They're all in there. I like A customs, right? And so that's really what they're going with, is that they're not big black rubber pads. They're very, very comfortable to play. It feels like I'm playing a cymbal. And I can trigger it easily and choke, right? So just in that aspect of itself, yes, it is not an acoustic kit completely. It's not supposed to be an acoustic kit completely, right? This is its own animal. It's its own world. And I will tell you that even hitting the rim of the drum, yeah, if you listen, you can hear shell sound like. And now another thing that that from my understanding with the kits that I've seen, this mesh head actually has 3 or 4 triggers in it. So there's a lot more triggers going on. So it's a consistent triggering all the way around the mesh head. Okay, full-size snare drum. It's a 14. I believe the full-size snare drum comes. It's always the full-size snare drum with all three of the kits here. So everything is here. The only thing you have to supply is a hi-hat stand and your foot pedal, which are great because you want them to be your feel anyway, and then your own snare stand, which makes sense because those are so usually personal with drummers anyway. They're probably going to want to use their own anyway, and so there we go. There's the setup. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can get out of the E-Vault, okay? There's an 8-channel USB-C. There's actually 8 individual analog out. So if you wanted to go 8 outs and 8 inputs into your board, or if you're going 8 out into a 8-channel interface, you still have full control of 8 different channels of the kit. And you can literally specify which thing goes where. The other thing about this, because we just got this, okay? This is we just got this. We're unloading the boxes. We're learning this kit or whatever, and I get this thing out. I'm like, okay, this box looks gorgeous. It has a very simple interface, which usually means to me that the inside's going to be really complicated. It's not. It's really, really, really user-friendly. It's very easy. There's a 5-inch touchscreen on this, as well as you being able to just go through with the dial. It's very easy to select sounds and to save them. So I was really, really impressed with this. You get 4 major buttons here. Gives you your kits. These are how you assign instruments to each trigger. This is the trigger itself. If you want to change any of the sensitivity, well, when I hit this, the edge, I hear the edge more than I feel like I should. You can turn that edge sensitivity down. So there is going to be some of that out of the box before you really start digging into playing. And to me, there's 2 ways to look at it. You're like, one, okay, well, I got to do some work when I get out of the box. Well, the way to really look at it is I get to customize this exactly to how I play and my feel. That's very, very important. Now, you can take it out of the box, plug it in, and you can play it. I mean, it's going to sound great and everything, but to get really a touch of how do I hit the cymbal, where do I tend to play on my snare drum and stuff like that, you can just change all that stuff. So the big thing that I want to do is just play some different sounds so you can hear some kits and different cymbals just to give you an idea. Now, this does have built-in effects. You can actually add reverbs, anything from like a live stage to drum room and so forth. There's some built-in compression and EQ as well. But what's cool about this is when you just start it up in default, it doesn't send any of that stuff. Now, why is that important? To a studio guy or a live sound guy, that's really important because they just want to dry signal so they can do what they're supposed to do, right? There's a lot of times these electric kits, you'll send them a stereo left and right, and it's saturated and it's wet with reverbs and all this, and they've got to handle that after the fact. Well, this, it just defaults send it to it dry. And to me, that makes a lot more sense. It's cool, it has the capability of that, especially because if you're practicing a long time in the room, and yeah, man, you want to sound like you're on stage, put the reverb stage on and hack out. That's awesome. But from a recording or performing standpoint, you can send everything dry. And so what we're doing is I'm literally just going out of stereo left and right into 2 channels in the interface. We kind of talked about it, like you can go USB-C, you can go, it has MIDI, either USB or old DIN 5-pin. I mean, you can go any way you want out of this. But we're like, you know what? We're going to plug left and right into the interface because it's the simplest way. And so you can see that it is that simple just to plug and play. But for you nerds like me, you know that you can go in there and you can separate all that stuff as much as you want. So let's hear some sounds. so this first kit I've got going here, they call this the Norwell Custom, okay? And now I forgot to mention that you can actually add 2 cymbals and a tom pad to this. So this would be the full, the aspect of it here. You can add 2 more cymbal pads and 1 tom pad, so you can have this complete setup here. So even cooler stuff. So if I go to instrument, this is literally telling me what I'm assigning for my kick and snare and the toms. And then up here, I can switch this one right here, and that is all my cymbals. And so we're going to go back to the drums here. This particular kit is basically based off a Yamaha, I wonder what that is, recording custom kit. And but they call it the Norwell Custom. So this is a really, really cool. Let's just play a little bit of it. So let's check out what cymbals they got going on here. So go back to instruments. I'm hitting my cymbal category button there. So the hi-hats are K14s. The ride cymbal they're using is a Concept Sizzle 21-inch ride. The 18 is a K Sweet 18, cymbal 2, a K Medium Thin 17, and the cymbal 3, which would be, I don't have. Yeah. Because these are for if you're expanding them, right? So cymbal 4, though, there's a lot of the effect cymbals and stuff in there. So when I was talking about how many cymbals there are and okay, so here we're going back to hi-hat. I can just click on this hi-hat here, and then I'm scrolling through everything from A customs to new beats, concepts, all the Ks and stuff from there. And then the ride cymbals, effects, and all that go from there. So let's just hear something else here. How about some Concept Fat 14 hats? Now, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s like I did, boy, are you familiar with Zildjian new beats, right? Like everyone had a Zildjian new beat, and here they are right here. Now, if you notice a little speaker right here next to the instrument, that's actually, you can actually hit that, and it'll give you a short demo of the sample without actually having to play the trigger or the instrument there. So you can kind of do that while you're going through things there. So let's take this a step a little bit different. We got the instrument now. I'm going to go to my ride cymbal here. Concept Sizzle 21. That cymbal's fine, but let's say I'm having some issues with the trigger. It's kind of triggering off a little bit. Go to the trigger there. You can see my A, B, and C zone. This is exactly what it is. The A is the bow, and B is the edge, and the C is the bell. I can change my detection sensitivity as well as the gain of that. I can even, how sensitive is the choking on the cymbal. Really ridiculous. So, and you can actually do a choke delay time of milliseconds. So if you feel it's cutting off, it doesn't feel like a natural choke, adjust it, right, to your to whatever you're doing there. And then a simple last thing from there is the mix of here's all your kicks and snares, and then there are all your cymbals there. That is just your internal mix if you're going your headphones or straight to the main there. So let's check out another kit, shall we? Nah, I'm not going to save that. So here is Z Heavy Metallurgy. I wonder what style that's for. So we're going to do a little bit of that here. Big huge drums with big old Z cymbals. So if you're curious what that is, then you just go back to your instrument. You're like, okay, so these cymbals, it's a K Sweet 20, a Paper Thin 22, so big projection 14. So that would make sense for metal music there. Cool. And then you can go the whole other different world. You can get like, here's a really cool little bop kit in here. Post bop. It says WWGD, and all I can think is what would Gadd do? I don't know if that's what it is, but it seems like just something silly. What would Steve Gadd do, right? So there's that, and then now we've got a total bop kit from there. So let's go in there, take it. I'm really curious what that ride is. Oh, it's a Constantinople 22. That's why it sounds fantastic and it's perfect for pop, right? But if you wanted to go in there and, of course, change it to anything else you can. This is actually, if you want to hear the instrument tone. So this is the 3 sections, the A, B, and C zones of the cymbal. If I wanted to hear, okay, that's what the bell sounds like. That's what the edge sounds like. So remember, each cymbal has 3 zones, even the crashes. That's new. I don't know if anyone else said you can get 2 or 3 zone rides, but I haven't known that to be. And then every other cymbal's been 2, right? It's been like the crash, and then if you hit it on the edge. But the thing is you can't blend those. You know, it's really hard to hit both of those to try to trigger both sounds. So, right? I mean, you could feel that edge, bow to bell sound through there because of that 360 triggering. So it's a whole nother animal. All right, we're going to check out a couple of other kits. Now we're just going to have some fun. Smells like grunge. I have no idea. Let's check it out. Kit to me. All right, let's see. Good old Sonic Maple. Can't go wrong with the Maple kit, right? So if you notice, I'm like, okay, I feel like whenever I hit this 16-inch crash cymbal, it's a little too loud compared to everything else. Okay, I'm going to go to mix. I'm going to figure out that cymbal 2, or whatever it is. Yeah, cymbal 2, so I can just drag that down a little bit with my fader. And that blends really nicely. And the thing is that every default setting it's probably really close to, you know, whatever player, but no one's going to play the same. So those little bit of volumes, it's really, really easy to go in there and just change it just a little bit. And that's just sending things out left and right, right? Very cool. All right, a couple more kits. Yeah, you notice that if you're going to... Oh, so this is good to go over. That Alchem-E custom here. So that's what I went in. I was like, oh, what do I really want to do? So I ended up going in there and basically doing whatever kit I wanted. That's where I got from that. So what they default to is... a collector style kit with very normal average sizes, so can't go wrong there. But you could go in, completely do that. You just save that kit, and it's basically, you can even rename it. So you have to rename it like, you know, this is my main studio kit. That's my general kit. You can absolutely do that. And I'll tell you one thing, as I am as a snare junkie. So when you look through snares in here, there's collectors. What am I doing? You have to press the right buttons. That definitely helps. So here's a Gretsch Custom Jazz. There's a Black Beauty. There's a Supra with wood hoops. So killer. Some more Ludwig, some Nocos. There's Pearl Yamaha. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And that's the drum part of it. So, all right. So to show you how simple, first of all, and then the potential of what each trigger can be, I'm just going to deal with one cymbal. So this 18-inch L80 cymbal is attached to cymbal 1 in the brain. So I'm going to show you some things just with this one trigger. Okay, so I go to kit. I'm in the Alchem-E custom kit. I'm going to the instrument. I'm going to look at cymbal 1. So right now it's a K Sweet 18 crash. Beautiful, great sound there. I can go into my instrument group, and then I can literally make this a cowbell if I want. I can make it even a drum or whatever, but I'm going to go through some cymbal FX, right? So here's some effect cymbals. So right off the bat, they got you an A 10-inch splash. Now, as a drummer, the weird part to get past is hitting an 18-inch something and it's sounding like a 10-inch splash, but it's not near as bad as hitting a weird black rubber pad and it's sounding like a ride cymbal. So but it is kind of, you know, maybe something you would want to put on a 16. So going to a China, killer. How about a stack? That's cool. And then no instrument there. So there's some of those. Effect cymbal is now going to our next one. So we're going to go into percussion, show you a couple of these things as well. So here's a Brazilian cowbell. That's pretty crazy. You do some wood block. There's a wood block, which you probably want to do. Now you have to remember that you've got zones here. So on these toms, so you think of the potential of that. Not to mention that there's 3 zones on these cymbals. So if you were getting really meticulous and you could do multiple instruments, you probably could on that. So here's a wind chime. I thought this was kind of cool that they had. So you could trigger that and get a whole wind chime sound. So church guys, right? Especially there. But like I said, I can literally go in here if I want to switch where my right is, you know. Now you hear the edge is triggering a lot, right? Well, of course, because the edge on a crash cymbal is going to be a lot easier to dig into than the trigger of the right cymbal would. So it would make sense. So, but if you wanted to switch just your right over there, you could go in and say, well, I'm going to switch that zone a little bit to make sure that edge doesn't trigger so often. So that's when I would go from instrument to trigger. And I'm going to go to my cymbal 1 trigger, and I'm going to go to my edge. It's at detection sensitivity is 50%. I get anywhere close to it, it's probably going to trigger that. But if I take it way down, it's like I'm learning this. Okay, take it way down there, then it's not going to trigger. Take it to 11, it's going to be hard to trigger. And if you notice, it actually gives you a sensor here with A, B, and C of what's being triggered. If I move this edge up a little bit, you'll see. Just find that nice point where you feel you lay into it. So, yeah, take some tweaking, but to me, that's the fun part because it's literally going to be tweaked the sensitivity of how you play, what stick you're using. These are Vader Manhattan 7As like I'm using. This is one of my go-to sticks, so it's a ball tip. So I know it's going to react differently on a bow and an edge, and it even does with the trigger. So it's pretty nutso there. So very simple way to go into these triggers and assign it to whatever you want, right? So going back into a kit here, I will show you. This says the Zildjian K family. So if you go into the instruments here, then all these are, it defaults to all these Ks, paper thin, sweet 20 crash, medium 17s, and effects and stuff. And so you can start with, if you're really like, okay, I just want Ks, cool. So you can start with that K line there and then just go switch the drums, right? So there's a couple of different instrument selects there that make it really easy to do. All right, so we've heard a bunch of cymbals and drums in this kit on its own. So I thought, hey, what if I put a custom kit together and throw it into a mix with the song I did before? Could be cool. Let's find out. Hit it, boys. You can see this is very user-friendly. I don't know if you've been in any electric kits, but it's like you go through 5 menus to change the cymbal. So this is very, very, very easy here. And you can even have a built-in metronome. So you just by hitting this, it's going to give you your BPM. It defaults to 120, right? So, and you can actually go in there and you can change these settings. If I hit this button right here, this is my BPMs. You can change the metronome sound, just like a regular metronome. So I can say, I want the beat on 4. I want every 1 to be an accent. It's all that is in there. You can even pan the click if you want. And then you just change the level. And there's plenty of different sounds, very stock ones, cowbell and wood blocks and the popping click that makes my head hurt, but I have to use it often. And there's and it's very simple as well. I go in there and just change. Okay, I'm going to change it to this sound, 86. That's it. So user-friendly. And that, I'm telling you, we're dealing with drummers. Let's just be honest. It is. Hey, I was one in college for many, many years. So it's very user-friendly for drummers. Me hit drum. Make sound different. Okay. So I was really impressed with that. And it's that kind of things when you deal with so many products like we do. That stuff sticks out. And the other part about it is we were talking about this right before we were filming, and we were back there just looking at it going, that's a really cool, nice looking kit. It's very pretty. And, if you're on stage, it matters, If you got your own recording studio and this is something you want to use as one of your options, well, think about it. You're not buying one kit, right? You're buying tons of different kits and cymbal setups. But people walk in, man, that wow factor matters. I've owned a recording studio. And they walk in and they see cool and really nice stuff. All of a sudden, that thing you're charging an hour makes sense, right? Because this kind of gear you have. So everything's very sleek. It's very user-friendly. I've had a blast playing on this. I don't do near as many drum set gigs as I used to, but I do a lot of studio work still on drums. And it was refreshing to sit down and go, you have to change, right? Okay, this is not, is it going to respond like an acoustic kit? Well, no. The cymbals do, as far as the feel, right? Mesh and things are going to be differently, but I think this has a really incredible place and value in the market, not to mention that this is pushing the envelope of anything that's been out there before, I think. Just my humble little opinion here. But the big thing with me is I could go in without turning it on at all, and I can just practice and have cymbal feels. As opposed to a black rubber pad that I should really be, using a mouse on or something, right? So that's kind of what, and so, there's like, well, I don't do a whole lot of acoustic gigs, or someone comes in and goes, well, I don't really want to do triggering. You're like, okay, you can use this exact same kit. Just put real heads on it, and if they have their own cymbals or whatever, like I said, they're maple shells, 7-plate maple shells. And actually, if you look at it, get a closer look, there's actually a reinforced hoop on the top of these. Now, from my understanding, they won't say who's making the shells. So, I'm just saying, I don't know. I have my ideas when I'm looking at the reinforced hoops and how they look, and then the tube lugs and things like that. I honestly don't know. But I would tell you you do know the bearing edges look good. We do know it's maple, so it's a great shell. And to me, these are actually my sizes because it's a 10, 12, and a 14 with a 20 and a 14. So pretty versatile kit from that standpoint too. So, man, so much going on, and we have scratched the surface of this thing. We're hoping to do a lot more videos of getting a little bit more up and close and personal with certain, really diving into this maybe from a recording standpoint or even trying to see what this thing sounds like when you do put heads on it, stuff like that. So it's kind of endless, but we're really excited. I feel very honored to be a part of being able to get this piece before it's launched. It is a small group of us, from my understanding, and so I'm very humbled by that we got to do that in the studio here. So this is something you've got to check out. Even if you're a hobbyist, you got to come check it out. It's just because you're like, this feels like a cymbal, because it is a cymbal, right? That's the part I can't get over. It feels like a cymbal. And so the other part of it is just when you go through the vault of this thing and their regular sizes, because even people who were making rubbers that were, they had the rubber type that were, cymbals, yeah, but they're like that big, right? And so these are actual sizes of the cymbals. Now, having said that, I have an 18-inch cymbal here, and I could literally make this be a 12-inch stack if I want. And so what you may want to do with smaller cymbals. But for ride and hi-hat especially, there's nothing like having an actual 20-inch cymbal to trigger from, right? And so and I know with the way this is, there's actually a flash drive you can get and way updates are, and someone who's innovative and doing something like this, like Zildjian, I think they're going to be on top of if there's bugs or there's weird things, just like anything else, right? I haven't really encountered any. Honestly, there hasn't been anything that really once we got everything up and running. I thought it was funny because I was like, man, this hi-hat's just not reacting. It's really weird. Well, that's because I didn't do the hi-hat control thing they told me to do, because I'm a guy who bought something from the furniture store and went, so and then I went in and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it works great, and so there's those little things. So read the instructions if you get one. It's important. Just really, because like I said, I mean, everyone's left foot is very different on a hi-hat when they're pushing, and this accounts for that. There's actually, I had mentioned it, but there's 3 points of when they're just sitting together, when it's open, and then when your foot's on it. And it takes those 3. And they say, and they haven't said, but I've noticed with having it a couple of days, pretty much every time I sit down, I redo that hi-hat control. Because today maybe I'm a little heavier footed. I mean, right? Just do it every time. Because it takes 3 seconds. So you can go in, and so anytime I sit down, I would probably just do that. Okay, everything else is comfy, and then you start playing. So I hope you got some excitement. I hope I've touched the surface of what this thing is capable of. I know there's going to be a lot of excitement and push in this. Like I said, I'm really excited to be a part of it. So share a way with especially drummer friends or recording guys or people who are really interested in kind of where electric drums is going. This is kind of it. And give me a like there on this video. We're really excited to bring our first official actual drum-based video. Hopefully there will be more. They're going to make me be bad on a lot of instruments. Is kind of what I do. And but this has been great, man. It's a lot of fun to do that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, maybe because you're a drummer, we've had mostly guitar videos, you should subscribe now, because we're just going to start going all over the place with types of videos. And if you want to know as we drop more videos, it's very simple. You just turn on notifications. We'll see you on the next one.